Why Radical? We build race cars. We race iconic tracks. We set lap records. We build friendships.
3, 4.
We create champions. We make racers.
Welcome to the Radical Cup Canada Winter Series here at Spa-Francorchamps, the final race of 2024 before the winter break. Fazui leads pro, Crocker Jr. tops amateur, but here at Spa, anything can happen. So let's see who has what it takes to take on this legendary track. Who will come out on top? Who will lead into the break? Who will stake their claim on the prize? It's going to be an absolute belter, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to go racing here on Pit Road Productions at Spa. My name is Daniel Zippy Salmon, and I'm going to be one of your commentators today. And joining me in the booth, the one and only Mr. Reese, Southpaw Racer Gardner. And then not only that, we also have Christian Hill at the controls.
Indeed we do, Zippy, and I've been looking forward to this round for quite some time. As you said, last round before the holiday break. We're almost towards Christmas, looking forward to that. But right now I'm looking forward to racing around an absolutely legendary circuit. This is a very challenging place. It's fast, it's historic, and these drivers will be very familiar with it, which should make for some good racing today.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Spa is one of the old favorites, you know. I mean, it used to be my favorite track. I think Road Atlanta kind of overtook it at this point, but that's okay. You know, it's going to be an absolute belt. Certainly, Rouge is going to be very interesting, especially to go through Blanchimont. But let's take a big look at the, at the schedule we've got going here, Reese.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the track details before we go to the schedule. Honestly, this track, what more can you say about it that hasn't already been said a million times before? Deep in the Ardennes at this legendary venue. There'll be 7 laps in the sprint and 14 in the feature today as we tackle this FIA Grade 1 track in these radicals. A long lap of 7 kilometers starts with La Source, then the blast up through Eau Rouge, where the drivers will hold their breath as they crest the hill at Radillon. The long run into a major braking zone at Lacombe, then the plunge down through some of the most famous corners in motorsport, such as Pouhon, Fagnes, and Stavelot. The drivers will have to be precise and maintain speed as they reach that corner and join the historic return to the start back onto the public roads, flat out through Blanchimont, and finally into heavy braking at the bus stop chicane. This track is fast, fierce, and technical, and the drivers will have to leave nothing on the table if they are to be victorious today. We'll have a look at the upcoming tracks after the break. Of course, we are looking towards the middle of this championship. We've got to wait all the way until January 15th to go back to racing at Virginia International Raceway. That's going to be an absolute banger of a round as well. And we're rounding out this with 4 tracks in a row in North America. We go to Barber Motorsports Park for round 6, Watkins Glen for round 7, and rounding things off for the final round at Motorsport Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Zippy, the home of BiS. This is a fantastic schedule. It's produced incredible racing the whole way through so far.
Oh, absolutely, and I have a feeling it's only going to get better here, ladies and gentlemen. But let's take a quick look at the schedule for this evening as well. The race format, I guess we could say. I knew what I was trying to say, and I just, it is what it is. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. The event details. So we've got two classes, pro and amateur. They're going to be doing a 15 minutes qualifying, and that is solo now. That is one of the changes that was implemented at the request of the drivers. 15-minute sprint race starts us off, ladies and gentlemen, followed by a 30-minute feature race. I do believe we have a lap count on those as well. Bear with us on that. With the second race being an inverted top 10. If you're there watching at home, have a look for these details here, ladies and gentlemen. If you see a yellow ribbon on that car, that is a pro driver. If you see a red one, it is one of the amateurs. Fun stuff here on Pit Road Productions.
Yeah, indeed. It's definitely looking forward to seeing how the AM drivers go, particularly Marshall Crocker Jr. But here in the pro standings, it's definitely the Racine Fazui show, Zippy.
Oh, absolutely. And you can see there he is absolutely cleaning up in first place with 100 points. Ozzy Milwain there in second, 39 points. And Kevin Norris only 1 point behind him. And that is your top three as we have a look at the amateur standings as well. Reese, tell you what, take us through the amateurs, sir.
Yeah, flipping on over the page here to find Marshall Crocker Jr., 27 points in the lead over John Benvalid and Christian Gritzko. Gritzko's had some very interesting races, and he certainly got some good pace, so maybe he'll be able to make up some points on Benvalid this round. For now, it's looking like the back half of the top 10 is where the battles really are. Nicholas Colander, 55 points behind the lead, and we have a two-way tie for 7th with Richard Swindells and Ken Young there. Points quite close all the way down here with Robert Covey rounding out the top 20, Zippy. And, well, qualifying is going to help decide how these points are going to shake out. Lima Racing is currently on top in the team standings with some very good drives from all of their competitors here in the season so far, and only 4 points difference between second and third in the team standings as well between AV Esports and Rust Racing. We're going to be seeing some good shake-ups here.
Oh, absolutely. And the team championship is definitely another interesting dynamic. And we've seen a little bit of team tactics so far, but nothing like obsessively obvious, if that makes sense. We've not seen cars literally going side by side, but I do believe qualifying has just finished. We're going to get the grid to you in just a second. But I tell you what, Reese, what would be your best advice for approaching this car and track combination just very quickly while we wait for that grid?
Don't crash.
Well, that is very, very solid advice. Myself, actually, mine's going to be a little bit slightly more long-winded there as we wait for that grid to pop up. But basically, as ambitious it is to be to go into turn one, we'll leave that for the minute. Racine Fazui is going to take the top spot alongside Jamie Lavelle. He's there in second in the 444 machine. As we have a look at the second row, Clay Morris, he's there in third alongside Mitchell Green for Rust Racing in fourth. As we have a look at fifth now, George Griffiths takes that position with Ozzy Milwain. That is last season's one of last season's champions there. He's there in sixth with Cade Middleton in seventh and Matt Adams taking eighth as we close out your top 10 with Marshall Crocker Jr. in ninth and Arno Gnetzt in 10th.
Yes, Kevin Norris is going to start in 11th place with Diego Zuccarelli in 12th. The 7th row of the grid being Nelson Mason and Andrew Hardman. Gavin Sanders and Joey Haynes on row 8. Joey Haynes a little bit further down than I expected him there. Benvalid, meanwhile, second place in the AM Championship, going to start 17th alongside Brady Clapham, his Lima Racing teammate. Tyler Scarali and Mark Boyd will round out your top 20.
And as we have a look at the 21st position, that's going to be Christian Gritzko alongside Rich Hibbs. Actually, he is a creator of some race monitoring software as well. Just fun fact. Michael Broomhead, league organizer, he's taken the number 23 spot alongside real-life radical driver Cedric O'Hyan. Joshua Peters for Black Flag Motorsports, he takes 25th alongside the very colourfully dressed Richard Swindells. And Robert Covey, he's back from a short break actually in New Brunswick. He's there in 27th with Kenny Reedman, real-life radical driver, in 28th. Robert Ridgway is in 29th with Cara Dudgeon, part of the Radical Academy, there in 30th.
31st and 32nd will be Doug Meadows and Matthew Crimmy running the same livery there. In 33rd place, Matthew Ayotte and Jean-Francois Larocque starting in 34th position. Next row of the grid will be Keenan Blades and Nick Pollard, 35th and 36th. The lap time difference is quite big around here, with Alex McLean and Nicholas Colander starting 37th and 38th. We have Chad Payton and Robert Teseo rounding out the top 40. 9 more cars to go. There'll be a huge grid here.
An absolute belter of a grid as we see Phil Nils there in 41st with Harry Sassy there in 42nd. Ivan Langeveld takes 43rd with Robert Burgess there in 44th for Radical Canada itself. In 45th, we've got Matthew Mailman alongside Grace Hughes for the Radical Academy. As we take a look at 47th very quickly now, Kenton Young is there alongside Ava Cabral, also for the Radical Academy. Great turnout by them today. As we have a look at 49th, Corey Greeds. And that is your grid, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what, Reese, how would you like to do the honours of starting off this race, sir?
Honestly, yeah. The start at Spa is always one of my favourites. We're running the Grand Prix layout here, so the green flag is going to fly out of the bus stop chicane. It's all about giving your rivals enough space into La Source that you all make it through, and make sure that if you have a side-by-side moment, you sort it out before you reach Eau Rouge at the bottom of the hill. It's never fun when you're going side-by-side through one of the most famous, most difficult, most dangerous corners in all of Motorsport. This is going to be a very interesting start here, and we've been looking forward to this for quite some time. Spa recently updated on the iRacing service to reflect its real-world form. Racine Fazui going to lead us away here as we wait for the green flag. The pace car is in, the green flag is out, and we should be racing, but Fazui did not go on the green flag, and there's been a huge crash in the middle of the field there. I don't know if Fazui was waiting for the green flag to come out of La Source, but oh dear, everyone decided to jump on the gas there. Fazui didn't go, and there's been quite a few casualties from that.
Well, you can already see, I believe that's Robert Covey's car there without the front nose cone piece. Quite a few cars with damage. It's not one of they're hiding in the background. Definitely not the race start we were looking for, but we're going to take a look at the lead pack now. Who's this now? I believe that is...
Well, they're 3 wide for second. Oh, good Lord. Clay Morris. Oh, having to back out of that one as Fazui now has to defend here versus Mitchell Green, who's going to go for the lead round the outside of Lacombe. Easy does it. Fazui all over the curb. They almost bang wheels on the way down the hill.
Absolutely incredible battling happening already. Don't get me wrong, you cannot win this race on the first lap, but some of these guys are certainly going to try as Racine Fazui retakes that lead with assertive dominance. You can see Ozzy Milwain trying to make a move in the back. Arnaud Ganest trying to get up to action as well. Actually, that's Arnaud Ganest, he's gone off. That's Caven Norris who managed to make it by. Arnaud Ganest taking a dip through the grass, and you can see a little bit of smoke there. Food for thought. How is it going to be with the new debris model here in iRacing just recently released?
Yeah, indeed. We can't forget that. We are in the end week of the season, or the in-between season week at the moment, week 14, and they will have more gravel to contend with coming onto the racetrack if they touch those gravel traps. So keep that in mind as well. Spa, a very old-school circuit with gravel traps at quite a few of the corners. Well, Cade Middleton now finding himself in 7th spot, and that is exactly where he started. It just goes to show, even if you're involved in a very hard race, you might have to deal with just not making any progression forward in the field. Janest, meanwhile, has recovered nicely and making a pass there for 11th. Joey Haynes has found his way up to the 12th spot there, coming into the bus stop chicane for the end of the first lap.
Well, as I'm having a look through the standings right now, I can see that Broomhead, Kenny Reedman, and Ivan Lungevel, they were some of the casualties in that race start. I have a look, actually, one of the people who has done very well at such a situation, and no surprises, actually, really, on this is Nicholas Colander. He's actually managed to move up 14 spots right now, currently the hard charger in the field. But as we have a look, there is battles happening throughout, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, we've got Tyler Scarelli. He's having a little bit of a battle there, and it's fair to say that these guys smart enough to realize that going too wide through Rouge is not a winning strategy. That's what I was trying to say just before we hit the grid.
Yeah, indeed. Let's see how the slipstream comes out here for Tyler Scarelli. He can't find a way through. He gets blocked. Oh, and no, someone's going for it there around the other side of them. It looks like that might be, oh, God.
Josh Peters, maybe.
Yeah, Josh Peters, who's gone for it. Goodness me. That's some incredible
Well, I have to admit there, Reese, it's certainly one of the battles I've actually done myself similar in a GT3 car. It was actually a broadcast race, and I can remember two guys were fighting in front of me. I went through Eau Rouge and slipstreamed and sent it down the grass after I headed through Blanchimont. But you can see these guys are already starting to spread out in the field a little bit. Somebody's taking a scenic route. I believe that's Joshua Peters there, potentially taking a little bit of a detour. And I do believe we've lost Reese Gardner for the minute as well. Reese, by all means, cut me off if you do chime in. But right now we're staying with Tyler Scarelli. You can see he is absolutely side by side, trying everything he can. And the battle's going on as I believe John Bembeledge has gone and he's overshot. He's wide in the gravel trap. Definitely not what Lima Racing was looking for on this occasion, as Reese Gardner currently trying to fix his microphone. We will get him back soon, ladies and gentlemen. Who we're going to take a look at now, you can see John Bembeledge rejoin the track. He's doing everything he can. Certainly not what he wanted to do, down 4 positions. Actually, speaking of positions, currently, as we see there, 13, 14 positions still. Nicholas Calander doing well, but here's Cade Middleton as he's trying to make a move heading into the final chicane. He's done one, he's going for a second. It's an ambitious move, a little bit of contact, counter steers, doing everything he can, and that is the number 7 car of Mitchell Green. Now, Mitchell Green was briefly in the lead. Razim Fazui, he's regained that, and not only that, just set the fastest lap very briefly before George Griffiths retook that position. But you can see now we're on the backside of Mitchell Green, and the 555 machine is trying everything it can. Cade Middleton looking to get that position back from the number 7 car, but certainly smart enough, wise enough to know that Eau Rouge is not the place to do it. And you can see a little bit of a train there, but the draft is really going to come into an effect now. And you can see the 555 machine closing up, and he's going for a bump draft, ladies and gentlemen. Huge bump draft. Interesting technique. So the 555 machine choosing to go for the bump. Cade Middleton looking to try and push themselves away and stay with the lead pack. I've got to be honest, not very often I've seen that here in the BiS Radical Canada Cup. Interesting battles indeed, and we'll have to see if it pays off to really break this toe. You're going to need at least 1.5 seconds here, as these guys are certainly starting to spread out a little bit. Razim Fazui, he's currently about 0.8 of a second into the lead. The whole pack pretty much together until you get to, oh my gosh, there's a bit of smoke there. What's happening there? We'll get back, maybe just a little bit of a lockup there as they head through that corner. But the whole pack generally very close together until you get to Joshua Peters. He's kind of out on his own at the minute, running solo. Richard Hibbs a little bit further back, and then the field kind of just in little drips and drabs. You see Richard Hibbs there. He's having a little bit of a battle with Tyler Scarelli. You can see there, Pit Road Productions logo on the front splitter. Thank you very much, Mr. Rich Hibbs there. He's doing everything he can. Actually, one of the closest battles right now, maybe back with Gavin Sanders right now. He's currently back in 26th, and I believe he's going at it with Matthew Aote. Now, for those of you who don't know Matthew, he's actually involved in Operation Motorsport, and that's a charity we are very much supportive of here on Pit Road Productions. And, you know, they just did the Race of Remembrance not that long ago there in Wales. It's glad to say that they are back and having fun, and it's good to see one of the members here out on the track with us in the 33 machine. Looks like he's having a lot of fun there, having a little bit of a battle with Gavin Sanders. Nicholas Calander just up the road. But again, more battles happening. Mark Boyd and Jerry Haynes, these guys are going at it. Both of them BIS seasoned veterans, ladies and gentlemen. And a little bit of a fact about Mark Boyd. He is the owner, founder, the boss man at Auto Eclectic Motorsports. And certainly, you know, he's actually looking for a driver. So certainly, if that is of interest to you, reach out to him. Don't get me wrong, you are going to need to be well sponsored for back of letter words, you know, because it does cost a little bit of money to go racing, and certainly with that level, you know, you're going to need to bring the cheddar. That's fair to say. But he's having a good race so far. Joey Haynes actually not really performing as well as we would expect from him. Not to give him a hard time there, but he's currently back in 13th, up 3 positions overall. Mark Boyd up 8 positions overall. As we have a look at the top 10, or actually top 10, Marshall Crocker Jr., ladies and gentlemen, he is leading your amateur class. As we see Ozzy Milwain, he's having a bit of a battle as well. So Ozzy Milwain, he's going at it with George Griffiths and Mitchell Green. That is a pack of 3 of them, even 4 of them. I think that's Clay Morris at the back of that as well. He's trying to get involved in that and having a little bit of a conga line here at this point. Ozzy Milwain at the front of that pack, sorry, second in that pack there. You can see he has got Jamie Lavelle, I believe, in the 444 machine. He's leading that battle. There you go. Thank you very much, Mr. Director, there. Highlighting it for me just to make it a little bit easier as I can hear him giggling into my headset. Oh, there, you should have seen him earlier. I really had him going. But these guys fighting very, very hard for second place. Razim Pazuya at this point has, not surprisingly, checked out, pulling away a 1.6 second gap, varying to about 1.8 seconds. It's fair to say that he has broken that draft, and with nearly 8,000 I rating, it's understandable that he would do such things. Razim Pazuya absolutely dominating here in the pro class. But it's interesting as well to see, you know, in the amateur class, Marshall Crocker Jr. was the leader going in, and he is currently still the leader. His nearest competition being Mark Boyd, who's currently 2 steps back and about 5 seconds in the gap. But the biggest battle right now happening on track is here. It is in second place. You can see there, Jamie Lavelle able to pull away just a little bit, not a lot, about 0.4 of a second, but they're all going to bunch up. You see George Griffiths trying to make a move, heading into the chicane. The door closed firmly on him by Milwain. Now, Milwain definitely not a slouch in that number 14 machine, trying everything he can, and he's got to be very, very aware as well. Mitchell Green right behind him, about 0.3 again, so these guys very much enjoying the draft. See, there's a head round, turn 1. Nice tight angle there by Griffiths. Actually, one of the things we did not get a chance to do is a guided lap, so we're going to kind of do one here right now. So, oh, there you go. Perfect Director's got the hint. Excellent. So you can see there he's heading down, and this is actually one of my favorite parts of the track, albeit one of the very dangerous parts there in real life. Certainly we have seen a few people be bitten by Spa, and here you can see that double slipstream, and Griffiths looking to send it down the inside. He started putting a nose in. The guys actually did give him space. You saw the door starting to close. Not quite got the head ahead. Almost ahead of Ozzy Milwain. A little bit of a nudge there. Milwain falls into place, and you can see right behind him, Jamie Lavelle. He was leading that pack, and now he's been shuffled back a little bit, but realistically it's going to matter on that final lap. These guys are going to be very aware of when it makes the sense. Oh, Milwain with a little bit of a twitch. He's gone off. Our director screaming, crying. I fair say he's an Ozzy Milwain fan, and Milwain shot back out of that pack and they're put into 5th position. As you can see here, Milwain able to keep things going. How about that lead pack, though, as we head back there with the 444 machine? These guys still going hard at it. 3 cars going at it. And I'm giving a sort of hint to our director, as I believe Reese has come back. He says he's come back. There we go. Reese, can I get a check?
Check.
Oh, boy, welcome back. Breathe.
My computer just freaked out. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, CPU bar just went wild for some reason. So unfortunately, I've missed some of the action here. Unfortunately, but hey, we're going to have an excellent finish here, as it looks like that's quite some big damage there for one car coming into Blanchimont. Not too sure who, but man, this is looking interesting coming into the bus stop chicane here, potentially for 3rd spot. Mitchell Green trying to chase down George Griffiths and Jamie LeVay here. And we're coming up to the 3rd last lap for these guys. Razim Pazuya, man, his lead stretching out to about 3.5 seconds. You know, I don't think there's anyone who'll be able to catch him here, especially with how hard they're battling for 2nd.
Oh, absolutely not. And certainly one of the big things we've learned here in the BiS Radical Canada Cup, while these cars are not particularly considered a draft car by any means, certainly if you compare to something like a Formula V or a Spec Racer Ford, for example, the draft being incredibly prevalent in those low-powered cars. Certainly the Radical has got a lot more of the power, but certainly the aero being a huge part of it. I believe they're bump drafting again. Interesting technique. I mean, don't get me wrong, at this point, I think they're just very aware of the pack behind them that I believe is being led by Caven Norris. They're trying to make sure that that pack does not re-enter this fight, and they want to keep it like just a little trio, a little ensemble right now. As you can see, Caven Norris gradually pulling the guys behind up with him. His teammate Arnaud Gonest right behind him as well, according to the timings, that is, trying to pull them up through the field.
I believe that is Ozzy Milwain leading the pack there. Norris is in 10th at the very back of it on my timing. So we'll see how they go on the way through this 2nd last lap here. Gently does it for Marshall Crocker, who's trying his best here to stay in touch with the rest of the top 8. Gently does it on your way through Puon, one of the fastest corners on the circuit, downhill. And I think in these cars, at the speed you're carrying, you're going to have to be careful of aero push through a lot of this track. You're really wanting to take advantage of the slipstream when you get to the straights. And we know from past rounds how strong the slipstream is in this car.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, speaking of Arno Ganesh, you can just see him in the background of your shot. Kevin Norris is just a little bit ahead as he's there. He's made a move on Marshall Crocker Jr. As I say that, Arno Ganesh taking a little bit of a wider line there. Certainly, that's going to be definitely an instant point, but I don't think it would actually trigger a slowdown. Certainly, we actually saw Jimmy Broadbent having a little bit of fun with the slowdown limits here at Spa. But if Arno Ganesh, if he's really, he's going to be pushing, certainly, as he head into this last lap. That last spot there, taken by Marshall Crocker Jr., that 10th position, that is a very high value place to be in right now. If you can get into that spot, you're going to get the invert for the main feature race. So certainly Crocker Jr. is going to want to hold on to that for everything they can as we enter the final lap. Razim Vazui leading the march. Mitchell Green about 4.7 seconds back, and then we have a whole straggler of cars between basically third place all the way down to about 7th, 8th.
Indeed we do. Battles going on as well between Hardman and Boyd for the 13th place, as it's still on for second here. George Griffiths looking at getting second place back here, but can Mitchell Green hold on to it after such a strong lap one that he had? Just backing out. That's very wise there from George Griffiths. He knows that there's opportunities later on in the lap, but it's brought Milwain Adams and Clay Morris right into it here. So we're going to have a six-way battle for second here on the final lap.
Well, this is exactly why there was a bit of bump draft going on, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what they were trying to avoid. And it's fair to say, good intentions, but not been able to get it done. As you can see there, George Griffiths almost hung out to dry, almost getting eaten alive there by Clay Morris. Clay Morris saw the opportunity and he went for it, had to back out of it. But, George Griffiths trying to do everything he can to stay in that field. But Marshall Crocker Jr. is going to be probably the biggest person under threat right now because Arno Ganest is catching up. That gap has closed down to 0.3 of a second. So that final spot for the invert grid could be absolutely huge. As you can see there on the right hand side of the screen as well, Nicholas Calander, we mentioned him twice already today. He's having a good day, as is Phil Niels, Joshua Peters, Robert Ridgway, and Cara Judgeon. Now, Cara Judgeon in the Radical Academy, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic to see her here. She's up 9 positions, so looking for a very solid result here in one of the debut rounds for actually a few of the drivers here in the Radical Canada Cup.
Indeed, but we're on the run to the finish now, and through that middle sector of the lap, it looks like Jamie LeVay has managed to break away from this pack, so it is now a battle for third. Racine Fazui is coming through the final couple of corners now to take victory as they're 3 wide for third place. There goes Racine across the line. Who's going to win this race to the line here? LeVay goes second, and Mitchell Green's been spun around, and that puts Matt Adams into third spot right at the end of the race, the last few hundred meters of the lap here, and Mitchell Green will be absolutely fuming about that.
Oh, absolutely, because I did see that Arno Ganes managed to get by Marshall Crocker, and with that spin there, Marshall Crocker Jr. takes the final spot for the invert grid. So that is absolutely massive repercussions there. The amateur winner there, Marshall Crocker Jr., looking very, very successful. He's had a win here, as you see, Razim Bazui, another win here for him in the pros. Marshall Crocker Jr. taking up that invert grid. He's going to start on pole next round. It really couldn't have gone any better, but I believe we've got another battle happening back in 30th place. Cedric O'Hine and Brady and Diego Zuccarelli, actually. You can see that in the chicane. And one of the Lima Racing cars looking to make a move. It's going to be a drag race to the line. You can see the car wiggling under power. It's going to be a photo finish on that one, but I do believe that Diego Zuccarelli had that over the Lima Racing machine.
Yeah, it looks like he did. And seems that was Brady Clapham trying to get the move done there. Unfortunately, not able to get it done right at the very end of the race. But, man, what an intense first race that was. And it only makes things more intense for the second race yet to come, Zippy. Man, I love Spa so much.
Oh, absolutely. And certainly it's probably the first year in about 3 or 4 years where I did not get to partake in the 24-hour. I can actually remember when my sister was getting married. She's like, it's going to be on this day. And it was the same weekend, Spa 24-hour iRacing. And yeah, I was busy that weekend. And it's fair to say, you can see where my priorities are, ladies and gentlemen, or how much I love my sister. But, we'll leave that for a different judgment as we're going to try and go over the results very quickly here before we head into the next race.
Indeed. Well,
Reese, well, okay,
here are the results then.
Do the honor, sir.
Racine Fazui by 4.8 seconds, taking victory over Jamie LeVay, Matt Adams, Ozzy Milwain, and George Griffiths. Rounding out your top 5, Morris, Middleton, Norris, and Genest, your top 9. And Marshall Crocker Jr. has pole for race 2, getting 10th spot and extending his AM Championship lead.
As we have a look at 11th, Mitchell Green certainly got a little bit unlucky there with Ridge Racing. Mark Boyd did well. He got 12, and that will certainly be beneficial in the amateur standings. They've got a very strong position. Andrew Hardman takes 13th with Joshua Peters in 14th. Rich Hibbs in 15th. Robert Ridgway making his way up to 16th with John Benvalid, Christian Gretzko, Cara Dudgeon, that's one of the Radical Academy drivers, ladies and gentlemen, and Nelson Mason closing out your top 20.
In 21st place, Gavin Sanders, losing a couple of places there throughout the course of the race. Nicholas Colander, meanwhile, making his way up from 38th to 22nd. The start incident definitely had something to do with that. Richard Swindells, Robert Covey, and Tyler Scarelli, your top 25, with Phil Neles, Crimmy, Aote, Pollard, and Ohian rounding out your top 30.
And ladies and gentlemen, such a massive grid here, 49 cars today, absolutely fantastic. And very quickly, this wouldn't be possible without all the people taking part. So, and not only that, having competed in the BiS Radical Cup Canada, there isn't a single driver in here who, isn't, every person here has a decent amount of talent. And certainly, I don't do it anymore because honestly, I just couldn't cut it. But as we see there, as we head to 41st now, Kenton Young, he's there. Harry Sassy, sorry, my apologies there. 42nd, Grace Hughes, one of the Radical Academy drivers, in 43rd. Corey Greeds in 44th. Ivan Langeveld, I believe himself. Keenan Blades, Avocabo, they may have got caught up in that race start. Michael Broomhead, he definitely was involved, as was Kenny Reedman. Certainly not the race that they were looking for on this occasion, but we're going to switch, have a little bit of a review here while they're doing a little bit of a warm-up. Now, Reese, we definitely saw a very interesting race start. I mean, maybe we can review that quickly if we've got the time. Our director will certainly give us a hint if that's something that he wants to do, but it's, I'm really putting him on the spot today. I should feel bad about that, but he's amazing.
well, honestly, Zippy, I'm in two minds because, the rules dictate that you don't go on green, you go on the leader. And Racine Fazui described his start as waiting for everyone to get through the chicane first. But I can understand why you're in that mentality of all the green flags out. Now's the time to get on the gas, right? I think there's definitely been some clarification as the warm-ups come in about that start procedure. So hopefully everyone's going to be a bit more careful this time around.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly, it's a little hard on the head if such a thing happens. You put in the time, you put in the practice, and all of a sudden it's like total wipeout. And don't get me wrong, it can be very entertaining as well. But we're soon to see the entertainment on the racing side. But excuse me, as we head into this more longer race, we're going to see a pit stop involved, which is going to definitely add a new dynamic. But let's take a quick look at our sponsors as well.
Yeah, indeed. We've got plenty of excellent sponsors here for the BiS Radical Cup, and looking forward to having them bring us the remainder of the season here. First off, of course, Radical. Looking to own a Radical or feel the thrill of Radical racing firsthand? Contact Robert Burgess at Radical Canada to buy your own car or arrange a rental and dive into the excitement of Radical competition. Contact Robert Burgess to get started. Robert at radicalcanada.ca.
And just to add to that as well, Robert Burgess, he did have a great success at the World Championships as well. So congratulations to him, and certainly a man who knows what he's talking about when it comes to a radical race car. But speaking of which, FEL Motorsports is a premier real-world racing organization that brings thrilling, high-stakes competition to tracks across Canada, supporting and showcasing talented drivers in a professional motorsport series. Much like BiS, FEL provides a platform for racers to push their limits, recently announcing the exciting addition of the legendary Trans-Rivières event to their 2025 calendar. For more information and to stay updated on the 2025 season, visit FEL's website. I do believe they are on Facebook as well. Certainly that's how I see most of their updates.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, we can't forget M-Zone, a trusted brand in automotive care and maintenance, providing top quality products designed to keep vehicles running smoothly and looking their best. Known for their performance-driven solutions, M-Zone shares BIS's passion for excellence, making them a perfect real-world counterpart in the automotive space. Discover M-Zone's full range of products and elevate your vehicle care by visiting their website at www.mzone.ca.
Well, we do have another discussion point as well, and that's actually the Radical Academy. Now, this is going to get a little bit more traction as we move on, but it's a new addition to the BiS Radical Cup Canada, and they're definitely here to make an impact. We've got Ava Cabral, Cara Dudgeon, and Grace Hughes leading the charge. The all-female team is supported by Women in Motorsport and Radical Canada. The mission extends beyond the track, aiming to spotlight and support talented women in motorsport, not just as drivers, but also as mechanics, engineers, designers, team leaders, among other roles.
Yeah, indeed. It's really awesome to see that the Radical Academy is getting involved here with BIS. Remember, doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, you can race, and you're welcome at BIS. And it's fantastic to see our representatives from Radical Academy out there for these remaining rounds of the season. Well, it looks like we're in the second race now. We're going to see how those Radical Academy drivers go, as well as our inverted top 10, Zippy. Marshall Crocker Jr. going to be starting on pole position for this one alongside Arnaud Jeunesse. This is going to be a massive, massive race for Marshall if he can keep this up. Norris and Middleton third and fourth, and then we find ourselves to Clay Morris and George Griffiths rounding out the third row. Ozzy Milwain in seventh place with Matt Adams in 8th. Jamie LeVay and Racine Fazui are your top 10. It's going to be a shame for Mitchell Green because he could have been involved in that invert somehow, but he's stuck there in 11th.
Indeed, he is, with Mark Boyd alongside him for Auto Eclectic Motorsports, as we see Andrew Hardman and Joshua Peters taking up the 13th and 14th spot. Richard Hibbs alongside Robert Ridgway for 15th and 16th. John Bemberlid there for Lima Racing alongside Christian Gritzko. He's there. And then as we head back into 19th, that's one of the Radical Academy drivers, ladies and gentlemen. That's Cara Dudgeon alongside Nelson Mason.
Yeah, from here on back, it's basically how they finished in race 1 with Sanders and Goland at 21st and 22nd. Swindells and Covey on your 12th row of the grid. Scarali will want to make some kind of recovery. He started 19th in race 1, got Phil Nelles alongside, who's made his way outside the top 40 in qualifying there. Crimi and Aote and 27th and 28th, with the top 30 rounded out by Nick Polliard and Cedric O'Hyan, two drivers who have had inverted runs through this field.
As we see there, Diego Zuccarelli, he takes 31st alongside Brady Clapham in 32nd. As we have a look at 33rd, it's going to be Doug Meadows with Chad Payton alongside the Rapforce Racing guys, again, side by side on the grid. Joey Haynes surprisingly far back again. Sorry, Joey. He's there in 35th with Jean-Francois Larocque in 36th. As we have a look, Robert Burgess takes 37th with Matthew Mayle alongside in 38th. And in 39th, Robert Tessio with Alex McLean. Actually, it's good to see him here in 40th.
And then we get into the drivers who are trying their best to recover from race 1 here. Harry Sassy in 41st place with Kenton Young in 42nd. Hughes, part of the Radical Academy, going to be starting in 43rd alongside Corey Guedes, who's running a Pit Road Productions livery for this round. Ivan Langevelt and Keenan Blades 45th and 46th. And our last few cars being Ava Cabral, our second Radical Academy driver here, alongside League Admin Michael Broomhead and Kenny Reedman. I remember Broomhead and Reedman started 23rd and 28th for race 1. They were involved in that start crash, and now they're starting from the very back of the grid. Oh, it's going to be tough for them to make their way up with as many cars here that they have to make their way through. But as we said, the pit stop coming up here in this second race should provide an opportunity for drivers to make extra moves.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see here as well, we are definitely going to be hoping for a better race start. Now, the scrubbing of the tyres, that's certainly an interesting topic myself. I never do it. I find that, I just run the car, normal lap, and generally I'm trying to get heat not in the tyres. I'm going to do it naturally throughout the course of the drive, but certainly some interesting variants here going between the drivers. Certainly Marshall Crocker Jr., he's giving it a bit of a weave. I see Caven Norris there, he's giving it a little bit of a weave. I mean, maybe these guys are just expressing themselves. It's certainly, you look through the field, very, very eclectic mix of strategy here at BiS Radical Canada Cup.
Yeah, very colourful field indeed, as the front of the field is going to be making their way up to the bus stop chicane for the time being. Now, I'm wondering when Marshall Crocker Jr. is going to decide to go, because remember, we mentioned Racine. He was trying to get as many people through the chicane as possible, but I don't know if Crocker is going to try and give everyone the same courtesy. Hopefully, there isn't a start pile-up like we saw in race 1, but Crocker getting ready for the call of the green flag, and they go on green. We're away. Excellent stuff. Immediately to the inside going Cade Middleton. He's trying to defend there from Clay Morris. On the brakes into La Source. They're 3 wide for 4th. And, well, at least the front of the field is looking clean.
Well, I'm seeing a problem getting ready to develop here, and I've got to say, Arnaud Gonesse and Kevin Norris figured that out pretty quickly, but we see 3 almost 4 wide as they're heading towards the entrance of Eau Rouge, frankly able to get it into single file for the most part as quickly as possible. And I do wonder if there's a little bit of contact there between the 2 teammates, as we see everybody appears to be through clean so far, but the slipstream is going to be absolutely massive with that amount of cars. I'm looking forward to see some big moves, some big sends as they head into the right-hander.
All the teammates, Janest and Norris, trading places for second there as Matt Adams makes a little bit of contact with Kevin Norris, and that's going to push them back into this pursuing pack. Norris has spun just in front of them, and he moves off the track just in time. Oh, this is where the intensity really builds up when they enter the infield. Careful on the re-entry there. Looks like no one else involved. That's good, but regardless, a bit of a scare there for Kevin Norris.
Oh, definitely a brown flag moment, as I've heard quoted before. But I've got to say, Marshall Crocker Jr. currently out in the lead, and he's doing an absolutely fantastic job to lead this field right now. As we see, actually, Kevin Norris taking a little bit of a wide line back there as well. I imagine got a little bit too much heat in those tyres at this point. But John Benvlid, he's hot in pursuit, trying everything he can to get past Nelson Mason. As I say that, he's taking the scenic route.
Oh, yeah, he is. Probably put a little bit of gravel onto the racetrack, as we saw in the iRacing Dev update before this new build. Benvalid recovering nicely. And fortunately, looks like almost everyone has made their way through the first lap cleanly. Got to be gentle on your way through this old public road section of the circuit. Used to be public roads before the track was closed off in 2006. Well, Mitchell Green will try and defend here as he's made his way in. Gently does it through the chicane. It's always frustrating going down to those slow speeds. I always end up losing grip somehow at this chicane, but Green managing to find his way back up into 6th spot. He's making a great recovery from that unfortunate finish to the first race.
Well, as I say that, I've just seen something's happened with Mark Boyd. He's just fallen through the standings pretty heavily, but I believe he is out back on track. Richard Swindell's getting caught up in an incident as well. That's one of the drivers, actually, Richard Swindell's, who's been really doing a lot of attrition, both himself and Colander. I think they would be in agreement there that they're not showing the quickest pace here at BiS, but don't get me wrong, that's no disservice to them. It's incredibly tough strength of field, but certainly the attrition really working for them. As I say that, Arnaud Gonesse has managed to take over the lead from Marshall Crocker Jr., but that's going to be interesting for them as well, because, you know, I don't know if you'd really want to be in the lead right now as there's contact there. And there's number 7, Mitchell Green, having a little bit of bad luck this evening, as he's yet again pushed back down through the order and now sits in 12th place with a little bit of a wiggle as well.
Yeah, carefully does it for Mitchell Green. Yeah, he really got shuffled back there, didn't he? And now he's got plenty of a big pack behind him, looking to get it done. Sanders and Adams chasing him down as there's more drivers, just dipping one wheel or so off into the gravel trap. It looks like we might have lost Corey Guedes as well. Unfortunately, Corey, it seems, has had a bit of a crash and has fallen all the way to the garage. So we'll see how that goes for him. Janest, meanwhile, finding his way into the lead over Marshall Crocker Jr., and he's looking pretty comfortable there up the front.
Well, certainly Arnaud Gonesse is going to do everything he can to try and make a gap, and he's been working on it so far. He's opened up to about 7 tenths per second. Definitely a very successful day for him, and I'm a little bit sad to hear that Corey has, well, not himself bit the dust, but the cars bit the dust. I was really looking forward to seeing that pit road productions paint, but, you know, maybe we'll get it on a replay a bit later. But You see the guys certainly still managing to keep the top four somewhat together. Fifth trying to hold on, and then they've got a little bit of a gap before we get the battle, led by Clay Morris for 6th and beyond. Actually, incredibly, from 6th about all the way back to about 17th, 18th. All very much to play for. Another big pack here in the field. As you see there, there's Jamie Lavelle trying everything he can to get past Clay Morris.
Inside into La Source. I think he might be defending the position behind as well. Ozzy Milwain is right with them, and he's looking to make some moves there. See the gravel strewn across the track there on the exit of La Source. That is the new debris attributes in iRacing in action. Don't have that much of a problem at the top of the hill. It's all tarmac runoffs up there, but LeVay has picked up the slipstream, and look at him go. That is magnificent stuff there, and he'll get that move done. Let's see if Ozzy Milwain will try and get 2 for 1 here. He'll at least get 1 potentially into Lacombe, but no, it's defended nicely from Clay Morris there. Meanwhile, Arnaud Geneste has fallen out of the lead. Cade Middleton has found himself to the front of the field, and Geneste is trying his best to get that position back. He just has through Bruxelles, and wow, the top 5 have really closed up. Fazui now up into 3rd, and Crocker Jr. has fallen to 4th. Could be 5th here with George Griffiths right on the rear.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a mix-up there in the standings, but it's fair to say there is definitely battles going on. As Racine Fazuri, I was actually wondering where he'd gone at this point. I just kind of expected him to be at the top, but he's currently there in P3. You can see him trying everything he can in that 58 machine. And don't get me wrong, you know, the invert certainly, you know, pushed him back 10 places, but I almost wonder if we need to push him back to 20 if we just see how far this man can make it through the field. Very, very talented driver, and certainly understandably so. Actually took part in Jimmy Broadbent's fundraiser as well, which was, I think, raised about £80,000. I got to say thank you, Mr. Jimmy Broadbent, for doing that. Absolutely incredible. In fact, did you just see what I just saw, Reese? In the background there, 2 cars looked like one of them actually went a little bit wide.
Yeah, I didn't see that because I was focused here on Racine Fazui trying to get 2nd place off Cade Middleton. Gently does it into the chicane once again with Middleton on the inside, but Fazui's going to try and go the long way around here, stick it up the inside for the left-hander. That is the move of a pro right there. Fazui was able to maintain that corner speed beautifully, and Middleton just has to give it up.
Well, actually, I think, you know what, Middleton could have fought a bit harder, but he's playing it smart. He does not want to fight going through turn 1. It is not going to be beneficial. This is experience, which is really showing itself. Well, the best thing he can do is slipstream Racine Fazui all the way down through Rouge, out and onto that straight, and then the draft is going to be absolutely incredible. You can already see there, he's closing right up, and he's going again for the bump draft. Cade Middleton really demonstrating the bump draft, but even then, it's not enough. As you see that car of George Griffiths absolutely slingshotting it past, and it looks like Marshall Crocker Jr. looking to try and do the same thing.
Yeah, oh, this is going to be very tight coming into Lacombe. All of this is just benefiting Arnaud Geneste, isn't it? That bump draft, I think they could have maybe, you know, traded places in the draft to try and stay in touch with Geneste, but at the moment, it's given him a crucial few extra tenths that he can work with. Griffiths finding his way up into 4th, and I'm interested to note that Crocker and LeVay have managed to stay in touch with these guys, as Fazui, it looks like, is now on the charge. He's jetted away from these guys just through the last couple of corners and is on his way to try and tackle Geneste for the lead.
It's almost as if you have a ball ready for the ring and somebody has pulled back that gate and he is on the charge, ladies and gentlemen. But Marshall Crocker doing absolutely fantastic in the amateur standings right now, up in P5 overall, which is, to fair, you know, to be, you know, that's incredible, honestly. As you see, Arnaud Geneste right there out the front, but for how long? We'll keep an eye on that gap. It's about 8 tenths per second, and then Racine Fazui's pulled about 8 tenths to there to Cade Middleton as well. But we've got battles happening throughout the field as well. I actually just noticed as well, Michael Broomhead, he is up 23 positions, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, the hardest charger. Actually, I think the hardest charger actually ever seen here at BIS. I don't know if we've had a number bigger than 23 positions at this point.
Yeah, good recovery from Mr. Broomhead. Let's hope that he'll be able to avoid any dramas like he saw in the first race. He's picking up a position here, potentially 24th, chasing down Chad Payton. And, I mean, he's picked up the slipstream very early and is going to go sailing on through by the time they get to Blanchimont. It's going to be a lot more work here for Michael to do, but remember, they still have the pit stop coming up. We haven't seen many drivers come into the pits yet for a conventional stop. The only one I've seen is Diego Zuccarelli, as it looks like Broome just unfortunately locked up into the chicane there. Well, we'll turn our attention to the battle for 11th. John Benvalid chasing down Richard Hibbs. Gavin Sanders not too far up ahead either. Let's see if the slipstream is going to work out here for John.
You can see he's trying everything he can, and this slipstream coming out of that complex is absolutely massive, and I do wonder if it's actually going to be more beneficial instead of trying to bump draft if you almost are able to leapfrog each other. Certainly the straight is long, but I don't think it's necessarily long enough to perform such a technique as John Benvalid trying everything he can, taking a beautiful line through there. And certainly you can see these guys using a little bit of the curb and almost dipping a wheel slightly in the sand, but not enough to start sprinkling some debris onto our nice new racetrack.
Yeah, indeed. The track's remarkably clean, considering the dramas that we've seen today. And easy
say that
there
now.
From I was going to say that's I believe Mitchell Green that jumped in to the gravel trap for a few moments there, getting chased down by Christian Gritzko and the bright yellow machine just behind. Well, Benvalid's still not able to find his way past Hibbs here. I think he might just be picking his moves. This is the portion of this longer second race where drivers are trying their best to get into a rhythm. Obviously, some are more successful at that than others, but you want to try and consolidate now. Get prepared for your pit stop. Maybe save a bit of fuel in the draft.
That is exactly what I was thinking at this point. Don't get me wrong, you know, the time to fight for positions, yeah, it sounds a little aggressive, but certainly at the race start, I find that is the biggest time to capitalize on an opportunity. But when the field starts to spread out, all of a sudden you have to shift your focus and start thinking more about fuel. If you've got somebody who isn't really slowing you down, and if anything, they're pulling you along, then you can use that to your advantage. And certainly, you know, you can start saving some fuel. As we see there, this is a man who's not really saving fuel right now. Razim Vazui, he's closed that gap. It was 0.8 of a second, and now Arno Ganess is going to have the number 58 machine looking right there in his mirror. That gap under 0.2 of a second. We're going to see the slipstream very prevalent here. Look at that, going through Rouge. He's right on the back, chooses not to bump draft, and they're going side by side.
Oh, lovely stuff here from Razim Vazui, absolutely nailing the run out of La Source, and gently does it now for him. Oh, lap car ahead. Oh, no! Oh, dear. Okay. How on earth did that come to pass there? That's ended up involving a few other drivers at the front of this field. That is not ideal at all.
Oh dear, that was definitely a bit of lap traffic. I could see it coming. I definitely, if we could get a replay of that, I would very much be a fan. But you can see Arno Ganess, he's actually showing off a different part of the Radical that you usually see. He's showing off the front nose cone area, albeit very briefly. You see a spinner in the background as well. I'm not quite sure who that is. I think it was Andrew Hardman. But let's try and get a quick replay to see exactly what happened here. So we're on board with Arno Ganess. You can see Razim Vazui. Razim's just got the lead. He pulls ahead. Arno, I don't think he's even seen the lapped car at that point. And if he has, he's not realized at the speed they're going, and just absolutely, for lack of better words, just clobbers him.
Yeah, just clobbered indeed. That's such a shame. Now, Jeunesse will be dealing with that damage. I think he's already back in the pits getting it repaired. He is, and he's out of the car, so he's lost it there. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly who the lapped car was in that circumstance, but yeah, I think there's a part of me that thinks maybe they should have just stayed off the racetrack, or I don't know. I honestly don't know how you could have avoided that, especially right at the turn-in point.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things as well, but that comes with experience. Certainly, when you have, you know, race leaders coming by, sometimes people will instinctively, you know, want to almost give a little bit too much. As we see Ozzy Milwain, he's certainly not in the giving mood, and despite it being Christmas, he's more on the take right now, as he's kind of taken that position away from Cade Middleton in the 555 machine. And it's going to be interesting as well, because as these laps count down, we're about halfway through at this point, and certainly, you know, you got to decide where do you want to be ahead of your competitor at what point in the racetrack. Certainly, you know, if you could lead it for most of the lap and then get overtaken in the chicane, you know, then realistically, you know, that is not a tactical win. You've got to really decide when it's going to work best for you. As I see somebody trying to go alongside, unless Cade Middleton got a little bit of a slowdown there, he's backed right out of that, looking to shave some speed.
Yeah, maybe it's a slowdown that he's picked up somewhere along the line there. Can't be sure. Regardless, keep an eye on Ozzy Milwain here. He's found himself back up in 6th place, and Clay Morris will be looking at 4th potentially. Remember how earlier Marshall Crocker had fallen out of the podium places, and we were thinking, oh, maybe that's it for him? Well, that crash happened in front of him, and now he's been granted at least 2 free positions back, and he's made a good recovery so far. Could be looking at an overall podium if things go his way.
Well, certainly he's going to have to get a little bit more good luck or a little bit more speed out of that car, because he's about 2 seconds back from Jamie Lavelle. Certainly Jamie doing very well to hold on to that 3rd spot. George Griffiths having a fantastic time up in 2nd, actually, as we see the... So you look at the top 3, Racim's up 9 positions, Griffiths is up 4, and Jamie Lavelle up in 6 positions as well. And then it doesn't quite end as well. The next hardest charge is actually going to be Gavin Sanders there. He's up 14, but oh my gosh, new record, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Broomhead up 30 positions. Wow.
That's crazy. Excellent recovery from Michael Broomhead, getting into 18th place now. That's really impressive. We keep an eye on the positions behind him for now. Robert Covey, who's joining us on Zoom, trying his best to find his way past Matthew Crimmy. It's all about the exit from Farnier here. You want to try and line up the entry into Stavilo for a good run up the, well, I suppose you could call it the back straight to Blanchimont, but he's a little bit wide of the apex in places. I think he's struggling here to really get the car going in that section, as it's a new fastest lap of the race from Racim Fazui, 2:11.8, and he's really consolidating that lead now. Covey picking up the slipstream. I wasn't optimistic about his exit, but it looks like he's nailed it here. And there's some pitters. Ozzy Milwain and John Benvalid have jumped into the pit lane. Our first drivers from the front of the field who are taking their scheduled pit stop.
I see the pit lane seems to be a very popular place to be right now. Don't get me wrong, some of them made it there purely by the express lane, we'll call it that, as you see Ozzy Milwain leaving. And I believe that might be Richard Swindell's. If not, it's Robert Ridgway leaving the pits as well. I recognize the paint, but I couldn't tell you which one of them it is. As Ozzy Milwain rejoins, and I actually believe he's rejoined, yeah, right in front of Robert Covey.
Well, that worked out very nicely, didn't it? 11.6 seconds is the pit stop there for Ozzy Milwain. That's the benchmark that we're going to have to keep an eye out for. We also saw Joey Haynes coming into the lane on that lap. That's what happens when you come out of the pits in front of someone. Usually they get the run on you. So now Ozzy's going to have to deal with a car that might be slower than his ultimate pace. And this is the trouble when you decide to pit early. Yeah, you might get an undercut on your rivals, but you've got to think about traffic. That could cost you more time than it's worth.
Well, as soon as I see who Ozzy Milwain is actually behind, oh, somebody's going slowly ahead of him, but thankfully not causing a collision. But Ozzy Milwain's going to have his work cut out for him, I do expect, because Robert Covey, he's very much cut from the same cloth as I am, albeit with much better facial hair. He is very much into the racecraft side of things, and while he doesn't have the most outright pace, he's going to make Milwain work as hard as he possibly can. The biggest thing Milwain can do at this point is try and pull away, try and create a gap, and if so, I think Covey's going to be falling behind. But saying that, Covey yet to make a scheduled pit stop.
Yeah, we've still got the majority of the field yet to come into the pits. We've ended up losing quite a few drivers over the course of this one, and not entirely from incidents that we caught on camera. Okay, here we go. Jamie LeVay jumping in from the top two. Marshall Crocker Jr. continuing on. LeVay, Griffiths, Sanders, Hibbs, and Gritzko all in the lane this time. And this is interesting. I would think that, you know, if you're up the top of the field, you want to keep going as long as you can. That's what Racine Fazui is doing. But everyone else trying their best to get undercuts here. And it looks like the race out of the pits is going to be won by Jamie LeVay, and George Griffiths will just follow him out here. They are side by side here with Josh Peters and Kenton Young, who are involved in their own battle here. Got to be careful, 3 wide on the run up to Eau Rouge.
Well, this is exactly what I was suggesting not to happen, because you do not want to go side by side, and that is exactly why we saw a car have
this is messy.
aggressive action, and this could be an absolute bowling alley of an event. I'm sure one of those drivers would have got a slowdown potentially, but it's going to be a 3, 4, 5 wide potential scenario as these guys are all going to be slipstreaming, and you see the car at the back looking, going like, let me in, guys, I want a piece of the action, and not yet able to get it done. Jamie LaValle able to stay out in front, but for Caven Norris right behind, it'll be Caven Norris not having the race he's looking for today, dipping a little bit of toe in the sand at that point. As you see there, that's George Griffiths looking to make a move.
Yeah, and LeVay we saw running off track just for a couple of moments there. I think he might have picked up a slowdown. He's had to let Norris and Griffiths go. He's back on the power. Now right in the middle of the pack as Josh Peters and Kenton Young will try and find their way past him. God, that was so close to a major disaster there up at the top of the hill. And it all comes down to the nature of the track. You come out of the pits here on the Grand Prix layout and you're slower than people coming out of La Source as LeVay and Peters exchange places through Farnier. Plenty of space given, they'll work their way through the corners cleanly. But yeah, the really fast uphill corners at the start of the lap, not easy to run side by side through there. You have to think about that when you come into the pits.
Absolutely, and you see there, Caven Norris really holding up George Griffiths at that point. Griffiths able to get by for now, but look at the slipstream from Jamie LaValle, and I do wonder, you know, this is a pretty high-speed corner they're coming up to. I believe it's Blanchimont, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a little meow there from our director. Possibly a slowdown being served, and definitely not somewhere I would want to go side by side, not just because of the sheer, you know, speed, but because, you know, the huge compromise there in your exit speed as they head down to the chicane. Lovely camera work there as they head out, and they go, and it's actually going to start lap 11 now, I believe.
Yes, and as we see that, Crocker, Morris and Green have all come into the lane now. So that really remains Racine Fazui right at the top of the field there. Yeah, actually Fazui's come in as well. So he and Crocker have found their way out of the lane. Fazui holding on to the lead, but Crocker has fallen all the way to 6th. I'm not too sure exactly the reasoning for that. It wasn't a slow pit stop from him.
Certainly on my side, I don't believe that Crocker has pit yet on my side, but we will wait and see on that. Actually, Broomhead was showing up 35 positions gained on there, so definitely maybe a little bit of user error on my part, but certainly he's still up in the top pack and still very much mixing it up as I take a quick look here. So we know that Racine Fazui's pit, LaValle's pit. Actually, maybe we'll get a graphic up to tell us who has or hasn't pit on the left side. Actually, who's that now? Is that Zuccarelli there having a little bit of an incident?
Yeah, Zuccarelli a bit slow. Last pit stop lap there. And, well, pretty much everyone's come into the lane now. The only... actually, no, it looks like Josh Peters just coming into the lane there to cleanse the field, along with Matthew Crimmy and Nicholas Hollander, I believe, still yet to come into the lane. No, he's already pitted a lap ago. So... the field is indeed cleansed, and we can go for a race right to the end.
Certainly, the pit stop does add a very interesting dynamic, and I've got to say, Rich Hibbs doing very well. He's up in 8th spot. Christian Grisco in 10th. Diego Zuccarelli up in 12th. I believe it may have been Robert Burgess who we saw having a little bit of an incident there. But certainly, you know, I've got to say, in the sim and compared to reality, while the sim is very good, certainly the drivers who, in my experience, when they've been put in the sim, they're used to having a different set of inputs. By that, I mean, for lack of better words, the old butt dyno, which can certainly give you a bit more of a sensation. But I've got to say, though, the sim really moved on in recent years, especially as well, this new update from iRacing. Absolutely phenomenal with what they've done with the track conditions.
Yeah, indeed. I love the subtlety of the gravel being thrown onto the racetrack. I did see some people saying, "Oh, well, looks like it's too much. Gravel's not thrown onto the racetrack like that in real life." But that was based on the video that they released as Morris has found himself down in 4th there. It looks like Griffiths has worked his way past there. Could be a good recovery from Griffiths. But yeah, the video that iRacing released to showcase the gravel, it was exaggerated. They were literally doing donuts around the outside of corners here. You can see in this race that when drivers do run off the track, it's a lot more subtle the way the gravel gets onto the racetrack. There goes Griffiths into 2nd, and now our top 3 are in the exact order they started.
Well, certainly it's been a very good, very clean race by them, but I do believe that maybe a little bit of lap traffic ahead of them, so hopefully we'll get a little bit of a cleaner pass there, as they definitely caught up to them incredibly quickly. I'm not quite sure who that is at this point, but these guys are all going to be looking to get a move on, get a shift on, and get gone and get down the road. And you can see there, that looks like perfect sportsmanship, the lap traffic lifting off there. As we see Mark Boyd's getting into it, actually a few people getting into it there. Mark Boyd, there we go, Caven Norris, he's up on the recovery drive, and that is the number 25 machine as well. All of these guys, 4-5 car pack, deucing it out here at Spa.
This is fantastic. Oh, Cade trying to find his way through there, and Mark Boyd's made contact with him, and around Cade Middleton goes. Oh dear, Middleton, it looks like, is out of the race now. Not ideal for him. And then there were 4, but there could be 5 once again, because look who's looming in the background, Zippy. It's Michael Broomhead, who's now up to 17th place.
I'm going to try and resist mentioning him during the show because we do seem to have a very potent commentator's curse. But you can see there, Caven Norris trying to do the absolute recovery drive of a century. Well, I say that recovery drive from a little bit of a incident earlier, however, in comparison to Broomhead, you know, who had an incident in the last race and was recovering from that and is actually doing incredibly well. We may actually have to talk to him on merit rather than just him being a league admin. But well, it's all yet to see there. As you see, Caven Norris doing everything he can. He's chasing down John Beverley. Now, John Beverley, ladies and gentlemen, heavily involved in Lima racing, very supportive of BIS, often puts up practice sessions, and actually been a BIS regular. I believe he's been here since the start, but that isn't going to help him right now as Caven Norris hot on the attack as they head down the chicane. Alex McLean getting in a bit of a fight as well. We're going to go back with Caven Norris and John Bemblid. So Bemblid's going to be on the inside on entrance as, oh dear.
Who's that?
Yeah, something's gone wrong back there.
Yeah, that's a
Doug Meadows.
lap car of some description. But we'll find our way into La Source here with our 12th place man, Gavin Norris. He manages to get the exit done nicely, and McLean is still struggling to find his way past Nelson Mason here. We usually see McLean in the F1600s, but he's decided to jump into the Radical for this round, and I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what he can do going forward here. Pick up the slipstream up the top of the hill. Once again, you see how strong the slipstream is in these cars, and he even can afford to pull out of the slipstream early with the speed boost that he's gotten. How late on the brakes do you dare for Lacombe? Usually the curb is the start of the braking zone there, but McLean deciding that discretion is the better part of valor, and he's going to try at some other point here. Only a couple of laps to go, and Racine Fazui, it seems, once again has an unassailable lead. On pace, he has been the class of the field, and there's not much anyone else can do to overcome him. Can anything be done for Alex McLean here to overcome Nelson Mason? Gently does it. I don't know how many times I've said that this broadcast, but that is the way you've got to drive Spa. You've got to be aggressive, but you've also got to be gentle across the infield of this racetrack. So many high-speed corners, but one mistake can send you flying off into the runoff. And it seems like McLean, for the time being, has not been able to keep up the pace, so he'll have to wait for another opportunity in the slipstream later on. Moving a bit further up here, and someone disappeared there just ahead of Caven Norris. I'm not sure what happened there. It's Kenton Young, actually, that's having some kind of technical issue there. I don't know if he's dropped from the server or not, but he's definitely not showing up on the timing anymore. So Caven finds himself suddenly not knowing where his rival is, and just having to drive the road in front of him, and through into the final 2 laps they will come. Benderlid and Boyd keeping up some good pace here, and of these guys on screen, Norris has the quickest pit stop, and we'll see how that works out for him going further forward, as it seems you are back, Zippy, just in time for Jamie LeVay to lose second spot.
Well, he may have lost it for now, but I don't think it's going to be the end. Certainly, as these guys get near the closing stages of the race, there's going to be a lot of tactics going on right now. This isn't just the kind of series where you can just send it, take the position, and try and defend it. There's a lot more involved. You've got to think about the aero. You've got to think about where the best passing opportunities are on this track.
Yeah, indeed. LeVay should be able to come back He's very, very close to Morris and Griffiths as things stand. Well, gently through the Funyeh chicane. It's sometimes called a chicane, but it's really a big S-bend. And now, out onto the public road section again is where the slipstream is going to be picked up once more. And it looks like LeVay is in a prime spot here for potentially a move into the chicane, to say nothing of George Griffiths, who wants that second spot that he was fighting for in race 1.
Well, this is the point where we're really going to see that slipstream kick in, and George Griffiths, I'm expecting, is going to try and make a move. No, he's staying back. That's surprising. Definitely a little bit of tactics there, as I see smoke ahead in the distance. Somebody's got it wrong. Oh, no.
Jesus Christ. Are you serious? That's stupid.
Oh, yeah.
You don't do that. In front of the second place group? Come on.
It was a coaching moment there, and certainly it's going to be a few irritated racers, but definitely a coaching moment. And I mean, a little bit of fresh air for Jamie Lavelle. Clay Morris, he's benefited from that, as is Gavin Sanders, George Griffiths, as indeed anybody basically who wasn't in that lead pack. But an interesting result. Certainly the stewards will be taking a look at that one afterwards, and we'll leave it at that on that note.
Yeah, I'll resist the temptation to go on a rant. I really don't like it when I see that sort of stuff happen. I understand the desire to come back to the pits as soon as possible, but you got to be aware of cars around you. Anyway, let's see exactly where they sit here on the final lap. Racine Fazui has already begun the last tour around Spa here. And, well, this is a position he's found himself in a lot of times this season, Zippy. Out in the lead, and not much pressure behind him.
Well, it's a nice place to be in, and certainly, it's not going to be the same position for Nick Polliard there, as he's got Richard Swindells sneaking up behind him. Now, Richard Swindells only moved up 3 positions this time. Nick Polliard definitely having a better run this time around. He's up 10 spots, and certainly, it's been an incredibly interesting race, we'll say it at that. And you're going to see the effect of the slipstream here again, absolutely huge going through Rouge. And yep, Swindells going to make a move. He's going to certainly try, leave even a lot of space, certainly a little bit more generous than I am. I tend to try and push the car as wide as possible, but not able to get that done, or choosing not to. I think he may have backed out of it there, as we see somebody running a little bit wide. And if you go 1 car back, I believe that is missing a front nose cone.
Meanwhile, Racine Fazui out of the final corner, going to come around to take victory for the second time here tonight. And once again, he is the full-on round winner here in the BiS Radical Cup Canada. Magnificent job from Fazui. And he set the fastest lap on the final lap for just to rub it in everyone's faces. What a drive.
Well, I definitely don't think it was ill intent, as oops.
Yeah, okay.
It was over celebration, perhaps. Okay,
dear.
I see where this is going. So in another league that I am very, very graciously, I get to commentate, produce on that. They do, after each race, they have a little bit of a gymnastics competition with the cars. And I believe that is what was going on there. Thankfully, no real radicals were hurt in the making of this broadcast. But you see John Bembelet there. He's coming across the line, currently sat in P12. Mark Boyd right behind him. These guys have raced before, as has Caven Norris, certainly back at BIS. And I believe in the distance, yeah, that's in 14th was Mike Broomhead. Fantastic drive for him, as you see Diego Zuccarelli having a little bit of a fight there with Alex McLean. Actually, Broomhead up by the end of it 34 positions, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely incredible drive through the field.
Yeah, fantastic stuff for Broomhead, finishing in 14th place. And well, we'll see our last few drivers come across the line here. Man, everywhere you look, there's smoke and dust. I think that just sums up tonight. I mean, that incident at the chicane aside, there's been quite a few incidents here tonight that have not exactly been the cleanest. So congratulations to all the drivers who managed to survive all of that melee. You're granted with a checkered flag as your prize.
Well, certainly it's something that I can definitely appreciate. To win, you first at least have to finish, and certainly a few drivers definitely are getting caught by that. I don't even feel that the commentator curse was the main loaded weapon today. Certainly the race start took out a few, and then we did see a couple of incidents there in the closing stages of that race. But I do believe we are going to go over the results here in just a second. We've got a couple of cars yet to cross the line. I believe maybe 3 or 4 cars, so we'll have those results to you very, very shortly. But certainly it's going to be interesting to see how it works out in the standings. Certainly Marshall Crocker Jr., he's going to be very happy taking that 6th place in the feature race.
Indeed, and he'll maintain and even extend his AM Class Championship lead from there. Well, our results then. Racine Fazui, pole position and winning both races. It was a tough road to it, but he managed to get it done. Jamie LeVay managing to finish in 2nd spot, and that's 2 second places tonight for Jamie. He's had a really good run today. Griffiths and Morris rounding out your top 4, with Gavin Sanders finding his way up to 5th from 21st. What a recovery there. Crocker will finish in 6th. Hibbs and Gritsko completing the AM Class podium just behind Ozzy Milwain there, and Andrew Hardman finding his way into the top 10 from 13th.
Oh, definitely a really, really great drive by a couple of these drivers. As we see, wow, the between 10 and 20, very much the amateur drivers making their mark on that, as Caven Norris takes 11th. He definitely got caught in a few incidents. John Beverlett in 12th, Mark Boyd in 13th, Mike Broomhead. Absolute drive of the season for me so far. With an unbiased opinion at that, 34 positions gained has got to be a record, certainly at BIS, but even in any field, that is absolutely incredible. We will have to talk to him on his own merit, not just because he's a league admin. But Alex McLean for Britannia iSports, a couple of good points there in 15th. Diego Zigarelli takes 16th. Robert Kobe, good to have him back here. He's in 17th. And then Cara Dudgeon, the highest placed Radical Academy driver, she takes 18th. Definitely great job to do that. Nick Pollard takes 19th, with Richard Swindell's closing out your top 20.
Nelson Mason finishing in 21st place ahead of Cedric O'Hyan, and these are quite a few drivers who've made their way up from outside the top 30, joined by Joey Haynes there, who's had a pretty rough night, I have to say. 35th and 23rd from that run there. Robert Teseo finding his way into 24th ahead of Peyton Blades, Colin DeSassi and Crimmy. Mitchell Green is going to be the first driver to finish a lap down on the leader.
And as we have a look at 31st, Brady Clapham takes that, with Robert Ridgway there in 32nd. Richard Swindell's his teammate getting the better of him on this occasion, with Matthew Mailman there in 33rd. Kenton Young, one of the few privateers actually in this field. I do wonder if they would benefit from actually teaming up with somebody there in 34th, with Ivan Langerveld in 35th. Matthew Aoti there, he's in 36th, with Phil Nails in 37th. Actually, Phil Nails very heavily involved in the Radical Canada Academy. Cade Middleton takes 38th. We saw him have a little bit of an incident earlier there, with Joshua Peters in 39th and Grace Hughes in 40th.
41st place, we're definitely in retirement territory here. Doug Meadows, Tyler Scarali, Robert Burgess, Corey Guedes, Ava Cabral, Arno Jeunesse, Matt Adams, JF LaRock, and Kenny Reedman actually not taking to the start at all. A lot of casualties there from that second race there. So unfortunate for them. And well, I guess now we can move to chatting to our best finishers in these races here. First off,
when I saw
our round winner, Racine Fazui, and it looks like you already have a chat to him, Zippy.
Well, Racine, I got to say, you don't surprise us particularly when you just show up and absolutely dominate. Now, tell us a little bit about how you prepared for Spa, and maybe talk a little bit about the draft as well, and what kind of effect that had going around this circuit.
Yeah, I didn't run laps on the new Spa because I was out of the sim for a while, and Spa wasn't on my calendar until now. But also, the new update with the gravel. That's a very interesting update.
Tell us more about that, actually, because we were discussing it a little bit, but certainly I would love to get a driver's point of view.
Well, here's this. What I feel like is, I feel like it affects the car behind way more than it affects the car that's doing the running on the gravel. And it's weird because it's not always consistent as to which tire is going to surprise you. For example, if you dip the gravel out of Les Combes into Brussels, you're going to most likely oversteer, which happened in practice as well. But I didn't expect when it happened. I put my brake bias 2 clicks forward because I knew I was going to make the corner, and I didn't expect the car behind me to also lose it. And I don't think the car behind me dipped a tire. I have to check the replay. Um, and but then on top of that, when you exit, I forgot the name of the corners, but the corner before the last straight, the corner before the bus stop, and not the kink. There's a double right.
I know what you mean.
Dip, yeah, when you dip 2 tires there and you turn into the corner and you dip the same 2 tires the same way, your left front goes away, and it's not as if your whole left side goes away. So that's a little bit interesting. I think it's nice. It's very realistic, and it feels realistic, especially for marbles and stuff. If you have a different line than people in certain corners, you'll feel it. But I think there should be just a little bit more consistency as to what at least the gravel, not the marbles, but what tire the gravel impacts the most. Otherwise, it's very immersive, very very immersive, and also the draft is huge in these cars. Whether it be the feature or the sprint race. I was more happy of the draft in the feature than in the sprint race, of course, because I started 10th. But in the sprint race, I knew we were going to be almost 3 wide at the start. Um, but it's a win-win, or it's a win-loss, or whatever it is, because I had a slowdown on the first lap of the sprint, so I had
That
to serve my
happens.
slowdown and be side by side with somebody. Um, but yeah, no, fun racing. Oh, I want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing.
Go for it, buddy. Go
My
for it.
my thoughts and my heart to whoever I was fighting for the lead, and the back marker stopped on racing line,
Oh, that
and
was,
that
oh no,
person,
goodness. Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really gut wrenching because I felt like that person had the pace to be in draft and we would fight. And also, you always like to come out of fights clean, right? So it would be important to if people want to come to a complete stop, just to do it outside of the racing line. I know it wasn't done with any malicious intent. It's a mistake. It happens. It's just a very, very unfortunate mistake because it kind of took away some fun racing for us drivers and the fans. So just in the future, if we can if we want to come to a complete stop, break away from the racing line, or also learn the escape roads of every track, because you can just cut the corner slowly and come back behind people you want to let by, whether it be open quali or blue flags during the race. Other than that, pretty fun race. Both races. Yeah, nothing else to say really.
Oh, definitely some interesting thoughts there from Racine Fazuri, and I got to say, there's definitely some merit in that, and it's good to hear some feedback as well on how these new conditions are here at iRacing. But Racine, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yes. I want to thank all the sponsors for the series. I want to thank Pit Road Productions. I want to thank Mike. I want to thank everybody that's racing, the whole league. I want to thank. I want to give a shout out to VPX Motorsports. I also want to shout out my family, my girlfriend, and last but not least, my dog.
I 100% get that. As a proud puppy daddy, and my dog is fast asleep. I say she's been adorable, but that's maybe overselling it in a biased opinion. But she's next to me, fast asleep on her bed. But I 100% get that. But ladies and gentlemen, 2 times race winner here today at Spa, and understandably leading the Pro Championship, Mr. Racine Fazuri. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, Reese, I understand you've been looking to catch up with another driver as well. Now, who's going to be your pick for the next interview?
I reckon we should have a chat to the 444 of Jamie LeVay. What a fantastic night for you, Jamie. Second place in both races, but you certainly had to work for it.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, it was a lot of work in the second race, kind of working through the pack, but fortunately the draft here at Spa was pretty strong, so it at least gave you something to work with, a bit different than our last outing.
Yeah, indeed. The slipstream incredibly strong here, and there's a lot of fast corners around here where you might be suffering from a bit of aero wash as well. Were you finding that?
Yeah, absolutely. Through Puan, it's a big factor there, and then coming on to the back straight, you want to get a really good run through there, but it's also pretty fast, and you're up against the gravel on exit, so definitely managing that air wash and all the gravel on the track that added an extra little complication following the update this week right before the race. So I had to manage that and not run wide because of gravel as well.
Yeah, indeed. Well, regardless, it's a fantastic points haul for you from this round. We're heading back to North America in 2025. If we can look forward a little to the next race on the calendar, Virginia International Raceway. It's going to be another track, much like Spa, where the slipstream is incredibly important, but there's plenty of grass around that track as well. No tarmac runoffs there.
Yes, bit of a roller coaster track as well. Lots of elevation change, more fast corners. A little bit less of a draft effect, having just really the one straight that's also a bit shorter, but definitely an unforgiving track for sure. So I'm sure we'll see a bit more chaos and a bit more excitement there as well.
Excellent stuff. Well, Jamie, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to for your double podium tonight?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, to my wife for getting the kids down in time for these races. So thank you to her. Thanks to Mike and everyone put these races on. It's a great group. A lot of effort goes into hosting this, and you guys as well on the broadcast. And yeah, for my teammates too, getting me exposed to this league and giving me the invite. And happy to be here and race. It's a fun group.
Jamie LeVay there in the Triple Four, second in both races tonight. And for our next driver interview here, Zippy, you'll be taking Marshall Crocker Jr., who had once again a fantastic finish in the AM class.
Well, Marshall, I've got to say, it's fair to say that you're in the amateur class, but we're starting to wonder why at this point with results like that you managed to extend your lead here at Spa. Definitely, you must have been absolutely thrilled getting to start on the pole for the main feature race.
I was floored and I was scared. I'll tell you that, man. It was a lot of pressure that I was trying to downplay in the pre-race. I made a quick message to everybody over the public chat, like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm not racing you guys, but I'm also not looking to just play on the way to the shopping the shopping market. I'm looking to stay a little bit competitive, but no, it was a great start. I mean, it started with the pole and qualifying in the AMs. I've had so much struggle, not just in this series, but in qualifying in general lately. So to segue a pole finally into that pretty cut and dry sprint race, and to get in that 10th spot. I know you guys talked about it on the broadcast, but that sprint race finish, I was fighting. That was the only time I fought a pro all day. Didn't get it. Luckily, had a car go around, and it went from a convenience to try to go for the win to oh no, the nerves are sinking in. So glad we were able to get it done. But oh man, I'm just as surprised as you guys are that I'm up here again.
I never said I was surprised. I said I was impressed. So, crucial details. Well, I've got to say, actually, you were having a good fight with Arno Ganest, and honestly, it was a saving grace for you when I think it was Mitchell Green who went round, had a little bit of a collision at the end of the first race, and that was really your saving grace. But I got to say, I sympathise. I believe I started on pole in the debut season of BiS Radical Canada Cup at the Laguna Seca race, which isn't one of my favorite tracks, and I managed to hold on for a podium. So certainly, you can use racecraft to a certain point, but the race start, I got to say, you did an incredible job holding on as well as you did. You've got a lot to be proud of today. But Marshall, we're going to wrap this one up for you. Anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, just gotta, as always, shout out my roommate Nick, all my friends watching, Michael, Alyssa, Brett, anybody out there. Marsh Crocker Senior, my spotter, as always, crew chief up there for me. He's a large part of the reason I've been up here so often. And thank you to everybody putting this together. Robert Burgess, all the everybody involved with Radical Canada. Hoping to maybe meet you guys in person in the future. The way this is going, and I just feel so blessed to be up here, so blessed to watch it back. Thank you guys for what you do, and can't believe it. Hope to see you guys again in January.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Marshall Crocker Jr. And obviously, he's definitely not got to know me well enough because he'd actually be thrilled to meet me in person. So, great racer, maybe not the best decisions on company at that point if he wants to hang out with me. But an absolutely fantastic job there. But Reese, I understand we've got time for maybe one or two more. Who have you got in mind?
For me, I reckon the last driver I'm going to talk to is Rich Hibbs. Fantastic result from Rich here today. Sorry, my apologies. The wrong driver there.
George Griffiths?
Yes, George Griffiths. My apologies. Yes. All right. So, George. Third place in race 2, fifth place in race 1. It was a very tough run for you, actually. The battles were very tight around here.
Yeah, the battles were very tight. It was a great race for me, really fun. The slipstream was insane with this car around this track. The straights are so long that as long as you're in slipstream, you don't have to have a lot of pace to stay in contact with the car in front. But yeah, the battles were really nice.
Yeah, I bet they were. The slipstream's so important around here, but keeping it clean, I think, was definitely the more pertinent of the two options. It turned out a couple of the races, particularly in the midfield, were quite messy. You managed to avoid most of it, but you weren't entirely out of trouble the whole way.
Yeah, there were a few incidents that I had to avoid. I know in the feature race heading into turn 4, there was an incident with the leaders, and I just happened to squeeze through there. And yeah, it was. And then heading on to the second last lap into the bus stop, there was a lapped car that I just managed to avoid, but got bumped all the way down to 5th place, and then managed to fight back all the way to 3rd.
Well, VIR coming up next in 2025. It's going to be a bit narrow, certainly more narrow than Spa, but still plenty of opportunities for good racing there. It's going to be a tough round.
Yeah, I personally haven't driven that track a lot, so I'll probably put in a good amount of practice for it, so I'm ready, and hope I can do as well as I did at Spa.
Excellent stuff, George. Well, thanks very much for joining us. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to give a shout out to Daniel Blanco of ASN Canada in the esports division. Him and I were doing a ton of practice leading up to the event, and even though he couldn't be here today, he wanted to do some test racing at Spa, because who doesn't want to do that? So, yeah, he definitely got me ready for the race environment today.
Awesome stuff. George Griffiths there, our final driver interview of the night. And that's going to round things off here, Zippy. Our last time running in the BiS Radical Cup Canada for 2024. We are going to be returning in the middle of January when we do our final run of races in North America.
Absolutely, Reese, and what an absolute, it's been a fantastic year so far, and certainly we're not just going to be back with the BiS Radical Canada Cup, the BiS F1600 Championship is going to be back next year as well, but between then, have yourselves a wonderful Christmas, stay safe. Obviously the roads are starting to get a little bit, the track conditions of the local roads are certainly not to the standard that we had here today, but the driving as well, that's a whole other discussion, but certainly, it'd be interesting to see how this develops and what comes next, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. And again, a huge thank you to our sponsors who helped make this possible. And certainly a huge thank you to everybody here involved in the production team and behind the scenes, Mike Broomhead, Christian Hill, Reese Gardner. But I have been, and I guess always will be, Daniel Zippy Salmon. And thank you very much for tuning here at the BiS Radical Canada Cup, here live on Pit Road Productions.
Why Radical? We build race cars. We race iconic tracks. We set lap records. We build friendships.
3, 4.
We create champions. We make racers.